It's hard not to feel overwhelmed when we talk about the Israel-Hamas conflict. I mean, it's just headline after headline, right?
Yeah.
But then every so often a story pops up that kind of cuts through all that. And I think we have one of those stories today.
Yeah. The hostages, you mean?
Exactly. Romy Gunnan, Emily Damari, and John Steinbrecher.
Wow. Seeing them walk free, wow, it's just incredible, right?
It is, yeah. Especially after October 7th. I mean, after that attack, felt like the whole world just stopped breathing.
I know. It's a reminder, though, a reminder that even in this, like, endless conflict, there are these little flickers of hope.
Yeah. And I think that's what we want to focus on today, the human side of things.
Absolutely.
So let's start with this ceasefire agreement. What can you tell us about it?
Well, the deal involves a phased release, like 33 hostages over 6 weeks.
Okay, so over time.
Right. And in exchange, Israel is going to release a bunch of Palestinian prisoners.
Hundreds, right?
Yeah, hundreds. Plus, the agreement includes, sending more humanitarian aid to Gaza.
So prisoner exchange and aid. Pretty significant stuff.
Totally.
So what about Hamas? What does this tell us about their strategy?
Well, their statement after the agreement was kind of interesting. They emphasized, like, they're committed to the terms and all, but they also talked about complete liberation.
Complete liberation.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that even mean here?
Well, you have to remember, for Hamas, this isn't just about land. It's about what they see as the liberation of the Palestinian people, like the right of return for refugees, the whole deal, an independent state.
So complete liberation, it's tied to all of that, this whole, like, historical narrative.
Exactly.
But, okay, so this agreement, it offers some hope, sure. But Hamas also said that the other hostages won't be released unless there's a lasting ceasefire and a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
So that's a big demand, right?
Huge. I mean, for Israel, withdrawing from Gaza completely, that's not just strategy and security. It's about really deep beliefs about the land itself.
Yeah. So even as we're celebrating these 3 hostages coming home, it feels like things could fall apart pretty easily.
Totally. It's a balancing act. Both sides trying to get what they need right now, the hostages, the aid, but also keeping their long-term goals in mind.
And it makes you wonder if those goals can even work together, Like, can they really find a lasting peace when they're so far apart?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's something we have to grapple with as we try to understand what's going on here. It's easy to forget in all this, with the agreements and the demands.
What do you mean?
The people. The lives lost.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's awful. Over 1,200 Israelis.
And more than 46,000 Palestinians.
Yeah. I mean, every single one. That's a whole family, a whole community changed forever. It's tough to think about.
It is. And it makes you wonder, what does peace even look like here? Can you even imagine Israelis and Palestinians living together, like, actually peacefully?
I don't know. Is that even possible?
It's the question, right? It's what everyone's been trying to figure out for, decades. But I think, we get so caught up in all the politics, the negotiations, the fighting.
Yeah.
And we forget that underneath all that, there are people on both sides, people who just want to live a normal life, a peaceful life.
You're right.
I mean, those are the stories we need to focus on,
Yeah.
the hope for a better future. Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about people.
Okay, so if that's, like, the goal, how do we even get there? I mean, how do you change things after so much bad stuff has happened?
Well, it's not easy, that's for sure. It's a long, slow process. But I think it has to start with talking, like actual dialogue.
Between Israelis and Palestinians.
Yeah. Not as, like, enemies or whatever, but as people.
Yeah.
Sharing their stories.
Okay, so, like, understanding each other's point of view.
Exactly. And recognizing, like, the pain that everyone has gone through.
So what you're saying, it needs to come from the people, not just the politicians.
I think so. It's about building empathy, getting people to see things from a different perspective and challenging those ideas of hatred and fear that have been around for way too long.
That makes sense, but it also sounds really fragile, right? Like, one wrong move and everything could just explode again.
Oh, absolutely. It's a super delicate situation. But even small things, little acts of kindness, gestures of reconciliation, those can make a difference. They can start a chain reaction, like a ripple effect.
So you're saying there's still hope?
I think so. And I think it's important for us, the people watching this, listening to this, to support those who are trying to build a better future, even when it feels impossible.
It's easy to feel, like, hopeless, when you see what's happening over there.
I know, but we have to choose hope. We have to choose to get involved because even small actions can contribute to big change. And that's what we need right now. Big change.
Yeah, it's about all of us, isn't it? Like, what can we do? I mean, it's easy to feel helpless watching all this from, halfway across the world.
I get it. It's such a huge conflict, it feels like. Been going on forever. But I think we all have a responsibility here.
Okay, so what can we actually do?
Well, I think the first thing is to actually learn about what's going on. Read up on it, try to understand the history.
Yeah, go deeper than just the headlines.
Exactly, because once you understand the nuances, then you can start pushing back against those stereotypes and oversimplifications.
Okay, so educate ourselves, and then what?
Talk to people. Have
Yeah.
those tough conversations with your friends, your family, even if it gets uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can start advocating for policies that support peace, support organizations doing good work on the ground.
What about the news, though? It's hard to even keep up with it sometimes, and it's so negative, so much violence.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. But you got to stay informed. Just be careful about where you get your information from.
Okay, so look for balanced reporting.
Right. And don't forget, balance out the bad news with some good news, too. There are people working hard to make things better. And we need to hear those stories, too.
I like that. Balancing it out reminds me of those 3 hostages. Even in all that darkness, there's still those glimmers of hope.
Exactly. And that's something to hold on to, right? That even when things seem impossible, change can happen.
Well, as we wrap up here, what's the one thing you want people to take away from this conversation?
Well, seeing those hostages come home, it's amazing, right?
Hmm.
But we can't forget that there are still almost 100 people being held.
Right.
So I think the question we should all be asking is, what can we do? How can we help make sure those reunions aren't just the exception? How can we work towards a future where peace is real for everyone?
Yeah. For both Israelis and Palestinians, that's a powerful thought.
It's not going to be easy, but it's something we have to strive for.
And to everyone listening, keep learning, keep asking those tough questions, and most importantly, never give up hope. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.